What if I told you that the decision to live alone after 80 could be the difference between aging gracefully and facing a medical emergency with no one there to save your life? By the end of this video, you'll discover the 5 brutal truths about living alone after 80 that most people learn too late, plus simple strategies to protect yourself starting today. The third truth involves something that happens to 85% of seniors living alone, yet doctors rarely discuss it during routine checkups, and missing this warning sign could cost you everything. Frank from Ohio felt proud and independent, living alone in his own home at 82. He maintained his house, cooked his meals, and managed fine by himself. 3 months later, neighbors found him unconscious on his kitchen floor after he'd been there for 18 hours following a stroke, unable to call for help. Truth 1. Emergency response time becomes your enemy. Why does every minute count differently when you're living alone after 80? The brutal reality is that medical emergencies don't wait for convenient timing. And when you're alone, those critical first minutes can determine whether you live or die. American Heart Association research shows that seniors living alone experience a 400% higher fatality rate from heart attacks and strokes compared to those living with others, primarily due to delayed emergency response. The difference between surviving and dying often comes down to whether help arrives within that crucial first hour, and living alone makes that golden hour nearly impossible to achieve consistently. The medical facts are stark and undeniable. According to the same American Heart Association data, cardiac events become 60% more likely to be fatal when emergency response is delayed beyond 60 minutes. Strokes cause permanent brain damage within minutes of onset, and without immediate recognition and treatment, recovery becomes virtually impossible. The National Institute on Aging reports that seniors living alone wait an average of 47 minutes longer for emergency medical care compared to those living with family members or caregivers. This delay isn't just about calling 911. It's about having someone present who can recognize the symptoms, provide immediate basic care, and communicate effectively with emergency responders about your medical history and current condition. Consider what happened to Betty from Kansas last winter. She experienced chest pain while watching television alone on a Tuesday evening, but convinced herself it was just heartburn from dinner. By the time she realized something was seriously wrong and managed to call 911, she'd been having a heart attack for over 2 hours. Betty survived, but the damage to her heart muscle was so extensive that she now requires constant medical supervision and can no longer live independently. Had someone been present to recognize the symptoms and call for help immediately, her outcome would have been completely different. Install a medical alert device today and establish daily check-in systems with family members, neighbors, or friends who live nearby. Choose a system that works even if you're unconscious, such as automatic fall detection devices or pendant alarms that don't require you to press a button. Create a contact list for emergencies and make sure multiple people have keys to your home and permission to check on you if you don't respond to scheduled calls. Set up specific times each day when someone expects to hear from you, and make sure they understand they should call emergency services immediately if you miss those check-ins. Don't wait for an emergency to test these systems. Practice using them regularly so they become second nature. Every day without proper emergency protection increases your risk of a completely preventable tragedy that could destroy your independence forever. Truth 2. Cognitive decline happens in secret. What happens when your mind starts slipping and there's nobody around to notice the changes? Cognitive decline in seniors living alone often goes undetected for months or even years because there's no one present to observe the subtle changes that signal serious problems developing. Johns Hopkins research on isolated seniors shows that those living alone receive dementia diagnoses an average of 18 months later than those living with family members, primarily because memory problems and judgment issues develop gradually and aren't obvious to the person experiencing them. This delayed recognition means that by the time cognitive problems are identified and addressed, they've often progressed to dangerous levels that threaten safety and independence. The progression of undetected cognitive decline follows a predictable and devastating pattern. According to the National Institute on Aging, seniors with unmonitored dementia symptoms make increasingly poor decisions about finances, personal safety, and daily care that can have catastrophic consequences. They may forget to pay bills, leading to utility shutoffs and financial crisis. They might leave stove burners on, creating fire hazards, or forget to lock doors, making themselves vulnerable to crime. The Alzheimer's Association reports that seniors with undetected cognitive decline are 3 times more likely to fall victim to financial scams and elder abuse because their judgment becomes impaired while they still appear functional to casual observers. Samuel from Nevada thought he was managing fine living alone at 83 until his daughter visited unexpectedly and found him wearing the same clothes he'd worn for a week, with spoiled food throughout his refrigerator and unpaid bills stacked on his kitchen table. Samuel had been covering up his growing confusion during brief phone calls, not realizing how significantly his cognitive abilities had declined. His family had no idea he needed help because his phone conversations seemed normal, but his daily living skills had deteriorated dramatically without anyone noticing the changes. Schedule weekly video calls with family members so they can observe your appearance, surroundings, and conversation patterns for changes you might not notice yourself. Arrange for monthly visits from a home health aide, family member, or trusted friend who can assess your cognitive function and daily living abilities objectively. Create simple systems for managing finances, such as automatic bill payments and regular account monitoring by a trusted family member, so that cognitive changes don't lead to financial disasters. Ask your doctor to perform cognitive screening tests every 6 months instead of waiting for annual checkups, and give permission for family members to discuss any concerns directly with your healthcare providers. Don't rely on your own judgment to recognize cognitive changes, because the nature of dementia makes self-assessment unreliable and often impossible. Truth 3. Physical decline accelerates without witnesses. Why do seniors living alone deteriorate faster physically than those living with others? Physical decline happens gradually, and when you're alone, there's nobody to notice when you start moving more slowly, eating less, or avoiding activities you once enjoyed. Mayo Clinic studies show that isolated seniors experience functional decline 40% faster than those living with family members because small problems go unaddressed until they become major disabilities. Without daily observers, issues like decreased appetite, reduced mobility, poor hygiene, or medication non-compliance develop unchecked until they reach crisis levels that require emergency intervention. The medical research reveals how physical isolation creates a cascade of health problems. According to the Journal of the American Geriatric Society, seniors living alone are twice as likely to develop malnutrition because no one notices when they stop cooking proper meals or lose interest in eating. They're also 60% more likely to experience medication errors, such as skipping doses or taking incorrect amounts, because there's no one to help manage complex prescription schedules. The Centers for Disease Control reports that isolated seniors have 3 times higher rates of depression, which further accelerates physical decline by reducing motivation for self-care, exercise, and social engagement that are essential for maintaining health and independence. Grace from Florida gradually stopped cooking nutritious meals and began surviving on crackers and canned soup because cooking for one person felt pointless and grocery shopping had become difficult. Over 6 months, she lost 30 pounds and developed severe anemia. But because she only had brief phone contact with her family, no one realized how dramatically her health was declining. By the time her weakness forced a hospital visit, she required intensive medical intervention and could no longer live safely alone. Arrange for weekly in-person visits from family members, friends, neighbors, or professional home health aides who can objectively assess your physical condition and daily functioning. Create structured meal planning and delivery systems to ensure proper nutrition, such as meal delivery services or regular grocery shopping assistance from family or community volunteers. Set up pill organizers and medication reminder systems that others can monitor to prevent dangerous errors or missed doses. Schedule regular activities outside your home, such as senior center programs, religious services, or volunteer work that require you to maintain basic hygiene and physical appearance. Establish exercise routines with others, such as walking groups or fitness classes that provide both physical activity and social monitoring of your health status. Physical problems compound rapidly when they go unnoticed, so intervention must happen early before decline becomes irreversible. Truth 4. Loneliness becomes a silent killer. Did you know that chronic loneliness damages your body as much as smoking 15 cigarettes daily? Harvard Medical School research demonstrates that severe social isolation after age 80 creates measurable physiological changes that accelerate aging and increase mortality risk by 50%. Loneliness isn't just an emotional problem, it's a medical condition that weakens your immune system, increases inflammation throughout your body, raises blood pressure, and accelerates cognitive decline. The devastating effects of isolation compound over time, making seniors living alone increasingly vulnerable to infections, heart disease, depression, and premature death. The biological impact of loneliness is profound and scientifically documented. According to research published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, chronic loneliness alters gene expression in ways that suppress immune function while increasing inflammatory responses that damage organs and accelerate aging. The American Heart Association reports that socially isolated seniors have 29% higher risk of heart disease and 32% higher risk of stroke compared to those with regular social contact. Loneliness also disrupts sleep patterns, increases stress hormone production, and reduces motivation for self-care behaviors like proper nutrition, exercise, and medical compliance that are essential for maintaining health and independence. Arthur from Maine spent most of his 84th year alone in his house, speaking to another person only during brief encounters with store clerks or delivery workers. Within 8 months, he developed recurrent respiratory infections, lost significant weight, and became increasingly confused and depressed. When his nephew finally visited, Arthur was so weak and disoriented that he required immediate hospitalization and never regained his previous level of function or mental clarity. Join senior centers, religious congregations, volunteer organizations, or community groups that meet regularly and provide consistent social interaction with people who share your interests and values. Schedule daily phone calls or video chats with family members or friends. But don't rely solely on technology for social connection, because face-to-face interaction provides unique psychological and physical benefits. Participate in group activities such as book clubs, card games, exercise classes, or hobby groups that give you reasons to leave your home regularly and maintain relationships with peers. Consider adopting a pet if you're physically able to care for one, as companion animals provide emotional support and daily structure that combat loneliness and depression. Volunteer for causes you care about, which provides purpose, social connection, and the satisfaction of contributing to your community while maintaining your sense of value and relevance. Social connections must be built and maintained actively before isolation creates depression and withdrawal that make forming new relationships increasingly difficult. Truth 5. Home safety hazards multiply exponentially. How does living alone transform your safe home into a potential death trap? The same familiar environment you've navigated safely for years becomes increasingly dangerous as age-related changes in vision, balance, and reaction time create new hazards you might not recognize. CDC statistics show that home accidents kill 3 times more seniors living alone compared to those living with others, primarily because falls, fires, and other emergencies become fatal when no one is present to provide immediate help or call emergency services. Your home's safety features that seemed adequate when you were younger may no longer protect you against the specific risks that increase dramatically after age 80. The statistics on home accidents among isolated seniors are alarming and specific. According to the National Safety Council, seniors over 80 living alone have 200% higher rates of fatal falls, primarily because injuries that might be treatable with immediate medical attention become life-threatening when discovery is delayed for hours or days. Kitchen accidents, including burns and fires from unattended cooking, occur 150% more frequently in seniors living alone because there's no one to notice forgotten appliances or help extinguish small fires before they spread. Bathroom falls account for 40% of serious injuries among isolated seniors because wet surfaces and limited mobility create perfect conditions for accidents that become catastrophic without immediate assistance. Brenda from Oregon fell in her bathroom at 81 and couldn't reach her phone or call for help. She lay on the cold tile floor for 14 hours before a neighbor became concerned about her uncollected mail and called police to check on her. By then, Brenda had developed hypothermia and severe dehydration that required extensive hospitalization and left her too weak to continue living independently. Install grab bars in bathrooms, handrails on all staircases, and non-slip surfaces in showers and tubs immediately before you think you need them. Improve lighting throughout your home, especially in hallways, staircases, and bathrooms where accidents commonly occur in dimly lit areas. Remove trip hazards such as loose rugs, electrical cords, and clutter from walkways, and ensure all frequently used paths through your home are clear and well lit. Create daily contact schedules with neighbors, family members, or friends who will check on you regularly, and know to call emergency services if you don't respond as expected. Install smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and medical alert systems that work even if you're unconscious or unable to reach a phone. Consider motion sensor lights that automatically illuminate pathways during nighttime bathroom trips when falls most commonly occur. Home modifications and safety systems must be installed before accidents happen, because after an injury occurs, it's often too late to prevent the devastating consequences of living alone without proper safety measures in place. Living alone after 80 doesn't have to be dangerous or isolating when you understand these 5 brutal truths and take action to address them proactively. These realities are serious and potentially life-threatening, but they're also completely manageable when you plan ahead and implement the right safety measures, social connections, and support systems. The key is taking action before problems develop into emergencies, not after they've already threatened your independence and safety. You can maintain your autonomy and dignity while protecting yourself against the specific risks that make living alone dangerous for seniors, but only if you're willing to acknowledge these truths and act on them immediately. If this video revealed risks you hadn't considered or made you realize you need to make changes to stay safe living alone, hit that like button right now and tell me in the comments whether you're currently living alone or planning to in the future. Share this with seniors in your life who might be facing this decision or already living alone, because this information could literally save someone's life by helping them prepare properly for the realities of aging alone.